Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing a couple of quick and easy Father's Day cards and my favorite new stamping tool. For those of you who have seen me use large stamps in the last few videos, you know that I have fallen in love with the Debbie tool. This tool makes it really easy for me to apply even, smooth pressure on my MISTI when I'm stamping. It became especially handy this past week when I was having some carpal issues on my right hand. I was able to provide the necessary pressure using the tool with my left hand to stamp out large images. Debbie was kind and generous enough to offer to give away one of her tools to one of you. So stick around till the end of the video to find out all the details about the giveaway. But for now, let's jump right into some stamping with the Debbie tool and creating quick and easy Father's Day cards. Now, I always call it the Debbie tool because that's the version of the Stamper's Secret tool that I own. There are other versions of the tool available for smaller hands, and there are other versions that look different, so it just depends on what fits in your grip. This is the original size Debbie tool, and I think it fits perfectly, and those beveled edges are rounded and soft. I love the sturdy handle, how it's attached to a nice strong wood block, and the felt is super attached as well to the block. So there is no concern about quality at all. It is a very strongly made, beautifully made tool. And this tool is what I use to provide lots of even pressure on the MISTI door so that you are not rocking and giving that MISTI CPR or even having to stand up. So I am going to be using a My Favorite Things cling mounted rubber stamp. This is the one that I'm going to be using today, and the My Favorite Things stamps come with a piece of paper on the back to keep the cling nice and clean. Now that foam on the stamp means that you don't need the foam inside the MISTI. So I use a MISTI mouse pad. Some of you just have a black piece of foam inside your MISTI. You just take that out when you're using these types of stamps. So I line up a 6x6 piece of cardstock into the left hand corner of the MISTI, and then I'm going to line up my stamp into the corner as well. You can see the stamp is a little bit smaller than 6x6, which is great because it gives me place for my magnet at the top. So between the corner and the magnet, your paper should be held in place. Now I can use that Debbie tool or the Stamper's Secret tool to really apply even pressure. I'm going to be using the Stamp Market's Cobalt ink, which is a dye ink. They are one of the foam ink pads. So what you want to do to apply is little taps. You don't want to squeeze down too hard or press down too hard because the foam will release the ink and you'll get too much ink on your stamp. So just little taps across all of the lines of the stamp until it's fully covered. Then close the door of the MISTI, and now it's time to use the Debbie tool. So I use lots of different methods. If it's a really large stamp like this, I might go back and forth, side to side, up and down. I'll also later in the video use a circular motion. It just really depends on the stamp. But check this out. I only stamped this one time. I am not cutting out anything where I had to double stamp. I got even pressure across the entire stamp and all the ink transferred. So now I'm going to be using the same stamping method with some of the Stamp Market stamps for Father's Day. This one says you are the best. That impression there was because of the magnet and all of the washi tape or purple tape that I have around it kind of gets in the way sometimes. Also, the way that dye ink sometimes beads on stamps. You can see that I do have to stamp this one multiple times, but it's fine with the Debbie tool. I can, like you saw there, I can use my left hand even. So if my right hand, it was my elbow and my carpal that was really bothering me, I can use two hands. I can just use my left hand, and we're getting a really good impression there. Also, the thing with dye inks is that they do smooth out. I like to try and get a real crisp impression for you guys right away, just so that you can see how well everything works. But really with dye inks, they spread out, they sink into that paper, so it does take a little bit of dry time to really get that crisp impression where the whole stamp image is completely covered. So here I'm going side to side to really make sure that all of those letters have been stamped and all of the ink has been transferred. Again, with the dye inks, it will sink in and then the color kind of dries back, but also spreads out. So you don't have to do what I'm doing here, which is I am stamping until I get a full, even impression of the ink. But it will on its own kind of smooth out. There we go. That's a circular motion. That really works for a smaller stamp like this. It's still nice to have even with this stamp because you're really just so easily, without having to fight with it, get that good pressure. Okay, I did die cut those fonts out. I trimmed down our stamped panel to 4 by 5.25 and matted it on some cobalt cardstock. And now you can see that you can do "You Are the Best Dad" or "Dad, You Are the Best." So I'm actually going to use the coordinating dies to cut out just some cardstock that I had stamped on in the same color. I don't want to pop these up so much, but I do want to give them a little bit of dimension on top of that panel there. So I am using some Thermoweb's Ultra Bond, which is a nice permanent adhesive. Liquid adhesive gives me a little bit of dry time to wiggle these guys around until they're straight. And then I am going to use that same adhesive to adhere these just 2 dimensions of cardstock onto our panel there. And again, that liquid adhesive, it dries clear as well. So if you put a little bit too much on, but you really don't need a lot, little dots like that really just adhere that all down. For the second card, I'm going to use the Stamp Market's Fantastic stamp set. I've die cut the fish and I'm placing the stamp inside the negative piece of the die cut, and then I pop the positive inside. This is how I make sure that I line up this stamp perfectly, because this stamp comes in 2 pieces. You get the fish and then you get the tail. So I want to really make sure that I line everything up great. So I am doing it this way instead. So you can see that with the Debbie tool, I got a nice, clean, crisp impression, super easy. I'm going to add some of the little details with the second layer of the stamp, and I'm going to do it the same way. Just pop that second layer right into the opening like a puzzle piece, and then once the stamp is in place, put the little fish back into that little die cut area, and then you can stamp the stamp. And again, this was an easy stamp to stamp, but you might as well, if you have your Debbie tool, it just makes it nice and easy to get clean, even coverage and pressure across the entire stamp. So I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did with the outline image. I decided to stamp that outline image in another color of blue. I'm going to do the same thing with the tails outline. So I love how all these pieces are separate. You could stamp the outline first and then stamp the interior pieces. I wasn't sure that I was going to use the outline, so that's why I ended up doing it backwards. And then I stamped the little eye with a little acrylic block. And here we go again with some large sentiments. So I have Dad again, and then You're Pretty Fantastic is not that big, but it's nice to get all of these done in one. So that's another way you can use the Debbie tool, is if you have multiple stamps that you want to stamp on one piece of cardstock, get it done all in one pass. Sometimes you end up missing one or whatever. The Debbie tool really helps with that as well. I am going to cut out a piece of plaid die cut cardstock. This is a Concord and 9th die, and I'm going to use some Ultra Bond on the back of this die, just little bits here and there. Just make sure you get the edges. I've noticed when I don't put glue everywhere, if I don't put it on the edge, it really does likely peel up a little bit, just I think from handling the card. So now I am just going to pop up the fish and pop up the dad and even the little sentiment strip that says You're Pretty Fantastic on top. And that is just a really quick and easy Father's Day card. I am going to add a little dot of black Nouveau drops into the eye of the fish. Kind of looks like a shark now, huh? And the last thing I'm going to do is add some Nouveau Crystal Glaze, which is my favorite way to add gloss and dimension to die cuts because the glaze comes out very easily from the bottle, and I've never had an issue with the tip drying up or anything getting clogged in the tip. So it's really easy to use. And there are my 2 Father's Day cards made with lots of stamping with the Debbie tool, just quick and easy. Now that you've seen the Debbie tool in action, I am sure you want to enter the giveaway. So let's talk about all the giveaway details. Debbie was kind enough to offer any style of her Stamper's Secret tool that she has on her Etsy site. And all you have to do is be either a US resident or a Canadian resident and fill out the giveaway form, which will be in the YouTube description box below the video. So as long as you are a US resident, Canadian resident, the giveaway will be open for a week, and all of the details for entering that giveaway will be in the YouTube description box, which is right below the video. Thank you so much to Debbie for offering to give away one of her amazing tools to one of you, and thank you all for stopping by and spending time with me. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Ridiculous. There we go. Pigeons, doves, there's like a lot of cooing going on right outside the window. Let me let you... We're gonna start all over again.